It's a big game. It really is a big game. We need to win tomorrow. We really do. And if we do win tomorrow, it puts us in really good stead in this group. You've got to say that if we win these 2 home games coming up, you should assume that we'll get through this group, won't you?
We're on 4 points. If we get another 6, 10 points usually is enough. The only thing is with this group right now, it's very, very close. Sporting is on 6. We're us and Frankfurt on 4, and then Lisbon on 3. So, and then Marseille on 3 at the bottom. So it's really, really tight. And we could even be top of the group if we beat Frankfurt and Marseille get a result against Lisbon. We could even be top come tomorrow. But I think 2 wins should be enough. You might need a draw on the last day to guarantee top spot. But I think the 2 home games should see us through. It's going to be really difficult, though, if we don't win this game. Regardless of what the result is in the other game, if we don't beat Frankfurt, especially if we lose, it puts us in a very precarious position in the group, and it leaves our position pretty much on a knife edge if we don't get the win. Even though we will still have chances to recover if we do lose, it doesn't leave us in a very good position. So it's vital that we get the job done tomorrow, and if we get all 3 points, then all of a sudden things are looking up.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a bit of team news as well. It seems as though we are going into this with a clean bill of health. The training footage will be with you very soon, but Kulusevski is back in full training. Lucas Moura is back in full training. So we do have a clean bill of health going into this very busy stage of the season. But looking closely at Frankfurt, they are 8th in their league at the moment. Top goal scorer is Kamado, who's a very, very tricky customer, plays in the cam position most of the time. Muani, their new signing, is their top assister with 5 assists this season so far. And you've got to say, they've been having a fairly good season. I mean, they had a poor start, then they turned it around to being one of the form teams in the Bundesliga. Against us, I was expecting much more from them, to be honest, at home. I thought they were pretty poor against us last week, and then they followed that up with a 3-0 defeat to Bochum in the Bundesliga. So a very Jekyll and Hyde team this season is Frankfurt, which you've got to assume, I mean, they are kind of like that for the majority of the season. I know they got to Europa League final last year, but in terms of their league form, they were pretty much of the similar ilk last year. But what kind of threats are you expecting from Frankfurt?
I think, especially with the way we play, I think they're going to be very, very difficult to break down with their 3 at the back. They play very wide. They did it the same in the away leg, but we were obviously able to control that, and we were the ones creating the chances, albeit we didn't really make most of them. They didn't really threaten us, but I think we know on the counter-attack they can be really good out wide. Lindstrom, the attacking midfielders, also can be very tricky customer. Kamada, we all know about. He's He can play in between the lines, and he can hurt you, especially with his dribbling ability and his passing ability. So they definitely have players you've got to be wary of, when they get the chance to have the ball. But I think now we have a clean bill of health. That'll be a major boost going into this game, not maybe heavily relying on certain players and maybe burning them out. And now we can maybe rotate a bit more. That's a massive positive. They're a good team. They've shown that they're a bit hit and miss, but they've shown, especially in European competition, they can be a massive threat. Even last season, even this season, when they, even though we got the draw there, and they won against Lisbon, I think it was Lisbon 3-0, away from home. So they've proven that they can be very, very difficult. And I think it suits them a bit more.
They lost to Lisbon 3-0.
So they lost to Lisbon. So they beat Marseille.
Yeah.
But I think they beat the Marseille away.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it suits them a bit more to play away from home, I think, because of how they're defensively set up. I think they prefer teams to come onto them a bit and they can play in the space, whereas at home the onus is on them to go forward a bit more.
Yeah, it's interesting because against Marseille they did play that 3 at the back system, that 3-4-3 system, but then against Sporting, when they actually got their arses served to them on a plate at home, they played 4 at the back, and they played 4 at the back last weekend when they lost 3-0 to Bochum. So there is a bit of a pattern emerging there where they do play 3 at the back. if you bring up the predicted lineup for Frankfurt, this is actually the lineup they played. Well, it's not the lineup they played, but it's the system that they played against us last week with Mario Götze back in the side. I mean, he's kind of like had a fresh air in his career again, because it all went wrong with the injury problems that he was having and stuff like that. But he's had a really good start to the season. He's one that we need to watch out for. Yeah,
we all know clearly when he's fully fit, he was one of the best players in Europe. Won Germany the World Cup. He was amazing. It's been a long time since he hit those heights, a very long time. No getting away from that. So I wouldn't expect him to get anywhere near that again. I think it's been way too long since he ever was playing at his best. But I'm happy for him that he's having maybe a mini renaissance this season with Frankfurt, because he's such a good player, and I like to see good players playing well. And it's such a shame that his career has been blighted by so many injury problems. So it's fantastic to see him playing somewhat near to his best. But I don't believe he's anywhere near what he used to be, in my opinion, still, even now. But of course, you catch him on a good day, and he can really hurt you if you're not paying special attention. So, for sure, he's definitely one to watch out for. I mean, it's Mario Götze.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you're looking at Spurs coming into this one, I think we played fairly well out in Germany. I think we were the better team. We should have taken all 3 points in that game. But how do you think this game will differ from that game out in Frankfurt?
I think we're going to have, the onus is going to be obviously more on us. We're going to have even more of the possession we did in Frankfurt. I think I think the energy will be higher. Playing at home in front of the home crowd. I think that we're going to be more aggressive, and I think we're going to push higher up the pitch. I expect us to stick with the 3-4-3, especially now Kulusevski and Lucas are back.
Do you think Kulusevski comes straight back in, or maybe just wean him in, because we don't want to risk him of injury again?
Yeah, I don't know if he comes straight into the team, but he definitely comes into the squad and onto the bench. So even if he only plays half an hour, I still think he's worth having around. So I think that definitely, the fact that he's there gives us more options to play with in the forward line. That's why I would stick with the 3-4-3. I think the 3-4-3 as well worked fairly well last week, despite the fact that our forward players could have done a lot better in the attacking situations. I think hopefully the confidence of the home crowd, backing them up, hopefully it will give them more energy. Hopefully the heightened sense of importance, knowing that a 0-0 draw last week was a good result, but a 0-0 draw today is not a good result. So hopefully that will be in the players' minds when we're playing the game. And I think it will be a bit of a different game because we're at home, and I think we're much better at home than we are away from home. I think we've shown that throughout the season, and I think we're more on the front foot. We get forward a lot more. We press a lot more. So I'm looking forward. And it's our first home game since Leicester, but I think we've had like 4 out of our last 5 games away. So it's nice to get back on home turf, back to N17, and I think that will put them under a lot of pressure, which I felt like away. We did well to create chances, but I didn't feel like we were putting them under constant pressure, whereas I feel like in this game, that's what we're going to aim to do.
And actually, our next 4 out of our next 5 games are all at home, so we got to go on a good run now, that's for sure. And Conte has called on the Spurs fans to create a really good atmosphere. And, you know, as much as Frankfurt didn't play too well, you saw how the fans can impact the game out in Frankfurt, where I thought if the crowd weren't really on top of us, I think maybe, you know, we could have won that game even more. You know, probably would have taken that game, but the fans really do make an impact. Conte's called on the Spurs fans not just to be the 12th man, but to be the 13th man as well, and really act as 2 men and drive this team through the finish line. And I don't even think we should need that, but it's just, we should be doing that every game, to be honest. And the lane sometimes isn't as loud as it probably should be, but let's be honest. Let's listen to Conte, let's back him, let's sing up for the boys tomorrow, let's go there with some good atmosphere, and let's drive the team on past the finish line. When you're looking at Spurs, what's your score prediction going to be tomorrow?
Score prediction, I think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think that we have, and especially now we've got a full clean bill of health, hopefully we're looking for a fresh performance, full of energy. And I'm going to go for 2-0.
2-0.
I think, yeah.
I want to see a much better performance from Richarlison tomorrow, because I assume if we do play the 3-4-3, he's going to be the one starting tomorrow. We saw what he was like in our last Champions League home game against Marseille, grabbing us that win with those 2 brilliant headers. I want to see him grab that game by the scruff of the neck tomorrow and really go for their throats and get a goal or 2, because we know he's got it in him, but I think the last few games when he has played, he's kind of flattered to deceive a little bit. So I'd like to see him take, authority, which we know he can.
Do you think it would be rushing Kulusevski back if we were to start him tomorrow?
I do, yeah, I do, because
it's been 2 weeks.
It has been 2 weeks, but he had a hamstring injury. We thought he could have been out longer than he was. With so many games coming up, with 2 games a week, every 3-4 days we've got a game now, there's no need to rush him back. There really isn't. So in this Frankfurt game, when we've got Kulusevski there, when we've got the option of 3-5-2 as well, I just don't think there's a need to rush him back if there's going to be any chance of him aggravating that injury.
Maybe if he's fully fit and he's back in training, maybe it suggests he's ready.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know the ins and outs. Maybe he is in training right now, but we don't know if he's like fully in training in every single bit of the training session. And if there's just even that 1% chance of him reoccurring that injury or like aggravating that injury, I would like to see him not start and maybe just play in the next game. What would your thoughts be on it?
Yeah, I agree, but I would think that if he does start, I would suggest that there's probably not a chance. No one. Obviously, as always, any player can pick up an injury at any time. But if Conte does start him, that'll suggest that he's 100% fit. I don't think Conte would start him if he wasn't 100%
Yeah, I'd
fit.
agree with that.
So, obviously, if he has been out for 2 weeks, and hamstrings can be quite volatile when you've pulled them, and you don't want to aggravate that injury, because if a pull turns into a tear, then you're in big trouble. But for me, if he's back in training now, that suggests that he's recovered from the injury. So I think I wouldn't be surprised maybe if he is in the lineup tomorrow from that point of view, especially with Richarlison not quite performing so well at the moment, and especially with Kulusevski operating on that right-hand side, which Richarlison doesn't seem to be quite... Like, I think he's done okay in that role, but it's his least favourite role. So if we're going to play a 3-4-3, I think he's going to try his hardest to get Kulusevski back in that lineup, I reckon, on that right-hand side.
Yeah, but it all depends if he's ready or not. That's what it boils down to. I mean, if he's 100% fit, obviously it's a no-brainer. I'd want him to play. But I don't know, because the injury's so fresh and he's been out for the last 2 weeks. I don't know. I see it just being a little bit of a risk, but who knows? I'm not the medical team. I'm not Antonio Conte. I'm not in there day in, day out with them seeing the progress. So I'll leave it up to them to make that decision. But I just see it as a little bit of a risk playing him tomorrow. But we'll see what happens. I'd like to see him maybe come on for the last 20 minutes and get a bit of match fitness there. But we'll see what happens. But look, obviously, I'd love to see him play.
It's going to be interesting to see if he makes any kind of rotations. Obviously, I've said already, I expect him to go back with the 3-4-3 compared to the 3-5-2 that he played on the weekend, just because of how Frankfurt play. It'll be interesting to see if he does go with the 3-4-3.
I think he will.
Does he stick with? Is it just going to be the same players that they played on the weekend? Like, is Romero 100% going to play? Is it going to be Longley or Davis? Is it going to be Højbjerg and Bentancur? Because the games are coming thick and fast, and if he does rotate, is he going to be in the Premier League? Maybe on the weekend against Everton.
I think Perisic will come back in at left wing back. I think Emerson will probably come back in at right wing back. I even got a feeling Longley will come in at left centre back. So I think there will be a few changes. I think it will be very similar to the team that we did play against Marseille in the first Champions League game here. I think it'll be very similar to that team. Richarlison played that game, Kane, Son, Perisic, Emerson, and Romero, Dyer, Longley. I got a feeling it's going to be something like that.
And I actually think as well, it's underrated how much of a boost it is as well having Lucas back as well, because as much as the problems that he's had recently in performance-wise level, we just need the options, and without him, clearly he doesn't really want to play Gil that much in the forward line. But Lucas just adds another option and adds energy off the bench if we need it. And him being back in the fold just gives us more options if we want to change things up. Even a right wing back maybe can play there as well. So without him, all of a sudden it's like we can make one change up top and that's it.
And this is why we want another attacking option in the summer.
Yeah, we wanted one. Yeah, exactly. And now we should have got Cody Gakpo looking at things right now. He's smashing out.
He really is, yeah.
But I think it's good. Really,
he nearly
good.
signed for Leeds or something. Can you imagine?
Leeds and yeah, would have been a brilliant signing. But it's really good having Lucas back in the fold now because the more options, the better. And I feel like Gil, I barely even count him as an option because Conte, like even when we have no one, he'd rather not play him.
Came on in Frankfurt, didn't he? But like,
yeah,
he was just so weak.
Yeah,
so weak.
Conte doesn't trust him. I don't think. I know he
says he does.
I know he said he does, but it doesn't look like to me that he does. But Lucas is can be a good option off the bench as well. And then all of a sudden, that's 5 attackers we get to choose from instead of 3. So very, very positive from that.
But
now
Lucas is always going to be a backup at best, isn't he? I mean, he's not good enough to start for us anymore, is he?
No, but that's not the point. The point is we have options. That's what we need. And instead of you looking at our bench and our only attacking option is one player, now all of a sudden we have a lot more than that. And that's very positive.
But like going into like the final 10 minutes of this game, final 15 minutes of this game, and we're struggling for a goal, we're not seeming to create much. Are you going to bring on Lucas Moura? Or would you prefer to stick with maybe a Richarlison, Kane and Son up top?
I think you would bring on Lucas if someone's tired or it's not working, or you can play a wing back and to really force the issue. So I think for sure he's an option to come on. 100%, and hopefully he hasn't had the best of season so far, but hopefully he can start. Look, and he's pretty good in the Champions League. We know that he's usually a lot better in Europe than he is in the league. So
it's been a long time.
Has been a while, but hopefully he can get back to that. And no, he still has something to offer. He's not completely useless. He's not the player we all hoped he would be, but he's still got his qualities. He's still got brilliant dribbling ability and speed. So on the off the bench, he can definitely be another asset for us.
We haven't seen him have a good run of form since the early stages of last season, really. I mean, when's the last time he's had like a good run of games with a good run of form? I mean, I know he's been out of the team pretty much since Kulusevski's come in, but even before Kulusevski came in, like, yeah, he was probably one of our better players, but it's still like miles and miles away to what we've seen from any of our other forward players.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying he's another option. That's it's better to have him available than not. And at the moment, he's not been available at all. And we've struggled maybe for having options in the forward line, especially off the bench. And now we have that option again of having another pacey forward off the bench, and that can make a big difference, especially with 5 substitutes. So for me, it's very positive.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But in terms of my score prediction, I'm also going to go 2-0 tomorrow. I think that when I'm looking at the game last week at Frankfurt, it was a difficult game, but I think we should have come away with the 3 points. I think we were the better team. And I think we'll finish the job tomorrow night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which will leave us in very good stead in the group. I'm going to go for Richarlison to get on the score sheet again, and hopefully Heung-min Son as well.
What's the best result for us in the other game, Marseille? There's probably a draw.
If Marseille win, we go top with the win.
If it's a draw, then we're still second on head-to-head.
If we
win,
I think if it's...
We're 2 points behind.
I'd probably want Marseille to win, and then we go play Sporting next week or in a couple of weeks' time. So if we win these next 2 games, I mean, this game tomorrow night should be irrelevant.
But in a weird way, if Marseille win, it makes us in more jeopardy of qualifying. But if Lisbon win, then it makes us less likely to finish first.
I might actually favour the draw, because if you favour the draw, and we've got Sporting to come at home in a couple of weeks' time, so if we beat them, then that will work really in our favour. Really would work in our favour.
Because if Marseille win that game, all of a sudden we could go into that last game with a chance of not qualifying. because there'll be 3 teams on very similar points.
Yeah, we don't want to be going to Marseille away needing a win to qualify or needing a win to, you know what I mean?
You're probably needing a draw, I would say. But
yeah.
Especially if they need to win to qualify in that atmosphere, you don't want that to be the case.
We need to make it a situation where we can qualify in the second last game against Sporting at home. That's what the situation needs to be, because you don't want to go to Marseille in that intense atmosphere with our away European. I know they're going to have half a stadium closed. It's not going to be as intense as it usually is, but still going away to Marseille with our European record away from home, you don't really want to rely on that.
No, and it's underappreciated how tight this group is. It's one of the tightest, if not the tightest groups right now.
It is the tightest group, yeah.
In the whole of the Champions League. So every point and every result matters right now. So we just got to make sure that we get our home games. If we can just get 2 wins, that's absolutely massive in the context of how tight this group is, and that would really make sure that we're not in any jeopardy going to last game of the season, last group game of the season. So it's super tight, this group. Anyone could qualify. It's completely open. It's wide open right now. We just got to make sure that one of the spots in the top 2 is sealed off, and by winning those 2 games, that's what we do.
All right, let's move on to BetMate. Obviously, BetMate's a really fun to play fantasy gaming app where you can win money. There's a £500 guaranteed pot this week for the Champions League, Wednesday for the late kickoffs. So you can pick 2 players maximum from any team playing on Wednesday night. And me and Sim have picked our teams. It is £5 entry, and you can win up to £500, which is the pot this week. My team, I've got Manuel Neuer in goal. They're away to Plzen, so I'm expecting them to keep a clean sheet. So I've gone for him in goal. In defence, I've gone for Hernandez of Bayern Munich, who's been on sensational form this year with assists, and also I expect him to keep a clean sheet, so I think he could get a good number of points. I've got Ivan Perisic at the back as captain. I expect him to get on the assist sheet tomorrow, and as well, he could also very well keep a clean sheet. In the midfield, I've gone for Thiago of Liverpool against Rangers at Ibrox. I imagine he's going to be very busy in that game with a lot of his interceptions and tackles. I think it's going to be a very, very busy day for him. Alongside him, I've got Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. We all know what he brings, the hustle and bustle of the midfield. And then up front, I've actually gone for one outside the box in Trincão for Sporting Lisbon. And the reason I've gone for Trincão is because so far in the Champions League, he's been on really good form. He's got a goal or an assist in each of the games so far. And at home against Marseille, I expect that to carry on. And then next to him, I've gone for Robert Lewandowski, who play Inter Milan, Barcelona. So that's my team.
And I've gone for Costa in goal, the Porto goalkeeper. I think they beat Leverkusen last week, and I think they got a good chance of beating them again. So I've gone for him in goal. I've got Alphonso Davies and Ivan Perisic at the back. Hopefully Davies starts. Obviously Perisic speaks for himself. In midfield, I've got for Kessie and Barella, but apparently Kessie's injured, so I might have to change that. That'll be in the works. But at the moment, I've gone for Kessie and Barella. And up front, I've gone for Sadio Mane at home to Victoria Pilsen and Harry Kane. And obviously, Mane is in good form for Munich, and they've got a very good fixture. So I've gone for him, and Harry Kane hopefully carries on his good form in the Champions League. He hasn't got a Champions League goal yet this season, so he's due one.
Yeah, he really is due one. Someone in the comments saying Davis is injured, but I haven't seen anything about that. But anyway, that is your BetMate. Come and join us. Come and take us on. If you want a free £5 to play for new users, do use the code WATTV5 for your free £5. The link is in the description below if you want to join the app as well. Download the app. But like I said before, it's absolutely, I've been enjoying this so much. We've won quite a bit of money doing it as well. So come and join us and come and take us on and see if you can beat us. But that is your match preview for the big game tomorrow night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 8 p.m. kickoff against Eintracht Frankfurt in our 4th Champions League group stage game.